All right. All right. Welcome back, everyone. Steve Atkinson here with the Canadian Saddle Hunter. And today I am joined with Dane from Dryad Saddles. This is one of the most unique things to come in the market that I've seen, I think, maybe ever in this market. So, Dane, thank you for joining us. Will you tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about yourself and what this idea, how it started, and yeah, just chat for a while.
Well, it's a bit of a long story. I mean, I guess hold on to your seat here. Let's see. My history. I grew up, young lad. Dad started me on a recurve. Me and my brother deeply entrenched in all things archery. Dad was never much on guns or anything like that. But how I got introduced to saddle hunting was I fell out of hunting for a good bit while me and my wife kind of traveled around. And when we finally got settled and had kids, it crept back in, of course, and took me by storm. Back it just all the nostalgia kicked in, and it's what you're meant to be. If you're a hunter, you immediately understand what I'm talking about. It just hooks you right back in. And my brother is one of the first guys. If you have any knowledge of the history of saddle hunting, there was a thread on Archery Talk, if you're familiar with the forum, that kind of started it all. I mean, there was just this group of guys who had one thread, and they kind of harkened back to the 80s when saddle hunting was a thing, and they just loved the idea. And my brother was a part of that, and he was one of the first orders when it was New Tribe before Arrow Hunter, before New Tribe became Arrow Hunter, and he was one of the first pre-orders for one of the first saddles that was made for the saddle hunting market via New Tribe. And he introduced me to it after he got his, and actually he got a trophy line first. I'll remedy that. He ended up doing a trade with a guy off a local Craigslist ad, and he traded like a Summit for a ring of steps, an old the Amera steps, the older ring of steps with a full kit system with the old trophy line. And he was hooked, right then and there, because he's a rock climber, and I used to rock climb a lot back in the college days with him. And he introduced me to it. He bought that pre-order with so let me close that real quick, because I'm on this Facegram or Facebook thing, and it's gonna just keep bothering us. So
No
let's
worries.
just make sure that doesn't get any noisier. Sorry. Yeah. So he showed me on his porch out in Hartsville, Tennessee, and I immediately was just like, mind blown. Like this is exact. It makes sense. You get behind the tree, you can position yourself between you and the deer, and entry lanes and exit lanes and stuff like that. And immediately went out and bought one, and a ring of steps. And I'm still a ring of steps guy. I'll tell you that. But yeah, so that was my introduction to saddle hunting, and I've been doing it since. It's been 7 years, 6-7 years, something like that I've been doing it, and I've loved it. And I have been tinkering, as we all probably naturally do. The saddle hunting community tends to, especially in those early days. I mean, it was a fun time to be part of that community and playing around. And I remember making fleece saddles and kind of doing what everybody else was doing, and taking the fleece saddles, and where your bridge attaches to the actual material be kind of further towards your hips. And I loved them, but it wasn't integrated. It wasn't a full system. You require a rock climbing harness, and I don't like rock climbing harnesses. You have to step into the loops, and there's just this whole rigmarole with it. So I was never real satisfied with it. And then tether came on the scene, and that was when I really started making my own kind of saddles. I saw the leaked kind of pictures, if you were around back then, and they had maybe accidentally leaked some on their website, and they kind of went live for a second, and I ended up last year, after we had made those and I started playing around with them and sewing them, I actually was involved with another company, helping bring a product to the market that was basically a traditional saddle, another traditional saddle, and we didn't see eye to eye, and things kind of fell apart. And I didn't have any intention really to, come back to the market with anything. It just wasn't on my plate. That was something that somebody brought to me. They wanted help. It didn't work out. And then, the universe or God works in mysterious ways. And I met my buddy Jason, and he's a great guy, just a die-hard deer hunter. Just cut salt of the earth, just good guy. And he had the idea of, and he's not on social media. He's not on the forums. This guy, he doesn't have internet to the house. One of those guys. But he had this idea of, he was sitting in a hammock one day and he was looking at it and he went, why don't I just take these two sides and bring them up and make a bridge out of it? And he mocked one up real quick and he brought it to me. And he was like, you got to try this out, Dane. It's super comfortable. And I remembered sitting down with him and sitting in it and just being like, yeah, I mean, there's absolutely no pressure points. Of course, there wasn't anything between me and it. There was no, I didn't sit in it with a Churchill saddle at the time. And I just told him, I was like, what if we tried to make this into like a whole integrated thing? Because what he brought to me was something that was different than a fleece saddle. And a lot of people online are comparing this to a fleece saddle, and rightly so. I mean, there's no reason you wouldn't. I mean, that's where everybody, if you've been in the game, that's where your mind immediately goes. Like, yeah, this is basically a fleece saddle. But what we do different with this is that we bring the material further up off the hip. We make a wider piece of material, and we girth hitch that hammock on the sides with continuous amp steel loops. And because it comes off of your hip so far, the way that it kind of just wraps around you and also lets you pull that material. I'm sure you've seen our Instagram where I'm like tucked up, fully into one. It allows that full containment of the body. And, I just don't think there's any other way except a JX3 that you're going to get the level of comfort and the level of support that you would get from sitting in a piece of material, that is distributing weight, evenly across your entire body. So, I told Jason, I said, well, let's iterate on this and let's play with it and see if we can make, a fully integrated system, because that's what I want. I don't want to deal with a rock climbing harness. And I want quick attach, rock climbing harnesses, you're dealing with double pass back buckles and, a little bit of fidgety nature. And it was something that was like, yeah, doable, but let's play with it. So, we ended up coming up with this design, and it took many months and many hours of playing. And I wish I had like the pile of, things, pouches and hammocks and stuff that we went through to come up with this design. But, it was just vast. And the types of materials that we tried as well. We went through a bunch of different materials, testing it and making sure the noise was appropriate, and it was a soft material, but also was a durable material. And, we landed on this design, and the cool thing about it is that it's integrated. It allows you, it's not like you can take a rock climbing harness. I mean, you'd have to cut that thing up and really, modify it heavily to make it work like the system that we've made. And, the cool thing is that you can rotate that pouch along the belt, and allow it to ride to any spot that you want, and which allows you, when you're in a linesman configuration, to access that pouch without having to be, turned all the way around and contorting your body. So, that was it. And I didn't really have a plan to bring this to market, but when it did kind of finalize and we were sitting in front of like a done product, me and Jason were just like, this is so different. If we did bring this into this market, that everybody's just going to go, what are you guys doing over here? We feel like the whole market is just beating a dead horse right now on a traditional design that works. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It works. I've loved it the whole time I've been saddle hunting, but I've always had the issue of, I suffer from back problems. I've got a half a foot, was cut off by a lawnmower when I was a kid, and it throws my gait off, and it's ruined my lower back. And, I get around great still, don't get me wrong, but I still do have that discomfort. And, when you're up in the stand and you're sitting there for 4 hours, you don't want to be fidgeting and moving around. I mean, how many times have you been busted by a deer and you don't know it just by, shifting your weight? Because when I'm in a traditional saddle, I mean, there's just no two ways around it. When you wrap a piece of, heavy material, like that 2-inch webbing with a, heavy mesh or a cordura or something like that, and it wraps around you on your waist or on your hip or on your thighs. I mean, there's just no getting around the fact that you're going to get hip pinch. I don't care what kind of marketing your company has. The reality comes down to it. When you sit in that thing for 30 minutes to an hour, I have to, and I'm sure many of your listeners will will relate. I have to shift my weight physically. I have to shift my weight because I can't tolerate it, and I have to shift my weight every 15 or 20 minutes. And I tell guys with this hammock, I mean, it's a hammock. You can, I can, in a sit position, I can sit there and read my little Kindle or a book that I bring in the woods, and I don't have to shift my weight. There is no pressure anywhere. I mean, it distributes evenly across you, and we integrate the harness into it, and you've got a safety line. So the hammock is, that's the thing we're doing different. We're kind of putting our focal point on comfort, and then we're building a safety system inside of that. So that if the comfort system fails you, you're locked in. You're fine. You're going to be, it's all right there. The worst thing happens, maybe you nick, the material with your broadhead and it tears. As long as you're properly set and you've got a little bit of tautness on your main line that runs up to your tether, the worst that happens is you get a little bit of load set down on your waist, and then you just climb back down the tree. So, that's where we came to be as far as bringing it into the market. It was something that it was not planned, but we kind of looked at the market and we were like, I think we can carve out a niche here, and I think people will dig it. I think there's a certain amount of people that, most of the guys that have been ordering from me have been older guys that deal with back issues, and they're willing to try anything. And they know that a traditional saddle, they can get a JX3, but, are they going to want to hike that thing 1.5 miles deep on some public? They still want to be able to do that. And they still want to have that level of comfort, but they don't want to have to hike in all that weight, or not even weight with the JX3, but mostly bulk. You're still dealing with almost tree stand level, bulk at that point. This system allows you to have a saddle to get the full comfort out of, say something like a JX3, but in a minimalist package, very, very minimalist package. And you can tell by the design, I am a diehard minimalist. I don't like fluff. And it's something that I think shines through, and I think a lot of guys are appreciating it right now.
Yeah, no,
So that's the story.
Oh, that's great. I think that's the one thing that when watching the videos is kind of comparing it to is like a JX3, but different. Like it's in that in between place. And I understand what you're saying. Saddles. One of the things that we do up here, and we're starting to do, is as soon as we're allowed with COVID restrictions up here, is to do like saddle training, kind of like the tether teach and train. We're having one of those, and then other events,
right?
Because everybody's body, every body is different, and how they want to sit, or if there's like leaners, or if they're sitters, or if side the platform, all this stuff is so personal. But they're just not that much out there to try that's different. There's saddles that are very similar, in the JX3, and I really like your concept because it feels like it's right in between the two.
That's exactly right, man.
Yeah, and it looks really interesting. One of the things I was doing some research on this and talking to some other guys on forums about it. I see. So you have the full system that comes in there, and you also have like just the hammock that fits on an existing saddle. Would you talk a little bit about what I had it on my phone here, and my mind just went blank. But what the one that you attach to an existing saddle, how does that work?
The retrofit kit. Yeah.
Retrofit kit.
Yeah. We call it the retrofit kit because we think saddles are old news nowadays. It's all about hammocks, man. But the retrofit kit was kind of a response to people who understandably have purchased a saddle and they're looking at not wanting to buy the full Monty, and they just want the comfort. And so I came up with a quick little system that just kind of, it's G hooks that you attach to your molly on your saddle. The top molly, you would put 3 G hooks in, 1 in the middle, 2 on the outside, and you face the outer hooks towards your hips, kind of going away. And then what that allows it to do once you taut it up is it keeps the hammock in tension right there, and it doesn't let it fall off. And I've had a lot of guys calling me and wondering about what's the downsides or what's the upsides. Why should I get the integrated system? And the whole thing basically is that we didn't design this thing for a traditional saddle. Yes, you can use it with a traditional saddle. It's it's going to work and it's going to be comfortable. But it's not as comfortable. It's almost like riding with training wheels, or I could say something crass, but I shouldn't. But I've sat in a traditional saddle for about an hour and a half with the retrofit kit on it, and it is by far much more comfortable than a traditional saddle. As long as you take all the weight off the traditional saddle, come out on your prusik, let all the weight off, and let all the weight into your hammock. You will feel in this configuration, you will feel a discomfort. It is not a discomfort that requires you to shift, if that makes sense. It's a general discomfort. It's something between you and the hammock. It's not a full fluid pressure. It's something in between you, and it's just a general uncomfort, and there's no way I can really describe it except to say I don't have to shift my weight, and it's more than adequate and very comfortable in that configuration. What you lose mostly is the ability. First off, the packability. I mean, you throw this thing on, and you throw it on like a belt. You click it in, you put it on, and it's a fanny pack, man. You throw it on the back of your butt, and you just forget it's there. I literally forget it's there. It's sub 2 pounds. It's like a pound 10 or 12 ounces, depending on which one I pull off the shelf. You just don't notice it. And when you are using it with the integrated system, it allows you to move the pouch that it contains the hammock all around the belt, which means that you can get over to it on your side when you're up in a linesman's configuration and deploy it and come out of it and move it back to your center line and come down into it. And when you go to put it away, it allows you to take it off, slide it around, and put right back into it. Also, the pouch, and a lot of guys aren't understanding this, and I'm doing a terrible job at marketing this thing because guys just can't see it yet, and hopefully it'll get there. But that pouch that contains the hammock, actually, you can stuff a whole lot more in it. We left a lot of room in that pouch because, like, for instance, last season, I'm running my linesman, my tether, 2 mechanical ascenders, 2 carabiners, and my leg straps in there. And if I was running like something like Canyon Rope or Opalux or something like that, I could fit even more stuff in there. I'm running an 11 mil tether, and it's thick and bulky, and I still fit it in there with everything else. So the other positive there is that you can use it like a dump pouch. And the cool thing is, I get to the tree, I slop my my pouch over to my right hand side, I pull out my linesman's belt, I throw it on, I climb up the tree with my sticks, I get to hunting height, I pull out my tether, I put my tether on, I pull out my hammock, and I put it in. Right. And then the opposite is true. You take that off, you put it in the pouch, you take your tether off, you put it in, you climb down, you put your linesman's belt in, you put your leg straps in, and it's a dump pouch. It's a dump pouch and it's a hammock pouch at the same time. If you use it in that configuration, it works very well. So when you do use the retrofit kit, it's limiting. I'll say that it's limiting, but man, it's I mean, if you don't have the money for it, get the retrofit kit, because it's night and day. I'll tell you that. It's night and day when you sit in that thing. I mean, I think it's fairly obvious for anybody who sat in and the reason where we're getting so much response and such good traction is guys are going, oh yeah, that makes total sense, because it's a hammock. A lot of the kind of the marketing, or a lot of the things people like to say about other saddles on the market is it's like a hammock. Well, ours is a hammock, so deal with that.
For sure. A couple of questions I had is, one is one sticking, and then the second one part, almost like a part B of that would be
sure,
rappelling down. So if I would, one sticking is really popular at the moment, and it has its place. Can you one stick using your saddle?
So I have not personally endeavored into the one stick arena. I have had customers who have bought it, and I've had guys who have one stick with it, before season, of course, they just received this, who have one stick with it without the hammock deployed, and some guys with the hammock deployed. You can do either. The hammock does have adjustable prusiks on either side of the bridge. So you can shorten that up to a point, because the fabric is long, and it's going to shorten up to a certain point before you can, you're not going to get it down to your waist or anything. You're down to your D ring. But I can't really comment on other than customers have it, and the general kind of thought has been, or the response has been, that the 1-inch, if you're say you're rappelling out of this thing, you pack your hammock up and you go and throw your rope down, get your mad rock on, you rappel down. Yeah. You're only in it for a very small period of time. You're slowly going down there. Since the leg straps are 1-inch webbing, you're gonna have, there's just no way around it, because this is a minimal saddle and that's what we've got as a base model. You're gonna have a little bit of dig on those 1-inch ones. And I've had guys requesting pads for the 1-inch, which maybe we'll get there one day, if we can get this kind of thing, up off the ground and get this rocket started. But also, the future also holds very large potential to do 2-inch webbing with 2-inch buckles, which would give you a lot more support and would be a lot better for this configuration. I'll say, if you can deal with some general discomfort at a sacrifice of minimalism, and at the end of the rainbow is you sitting in a hammock, I mean, it's definitely a valid system to do. I mean, imagine you took a rock climbing harness and just used the 1-inch webbing that they use with no padding, and that's what you would end up with. So definitely general discomfort there. But it's still doable, and I've got guys that are doing it with the hammock deployed. If you use it with the hammock deployed, you're still in a hammock. It'll probably be a little more fidgety, but I think it's definitely usable. As for this SRT guys and for the one stick guys, I would, the future looks bright. I'll say that the future looks bright, because when you look at our system, if you get on our site and you look at it, you'll probably be overwhelmed, because there's just, we're just a brand new business and we've got all these products on there. Well, The reason we have all these products is because it's modular. And this is something that I try to tell people is, this is a totally different business model than everybody else. It's a different product and it's a different business model. The different business model is, you don't have to buy the entire kit when next season comes out and we change something, right? You don't have to spend $300 on a new thing, or $260. That's our base kit right now. Yeah. If we upgrade the belt and you decide that belt looks way better than the belt I've got, I would like the new belt. All you have to do is buy the belt. Your old hammock is going to work with the new belt. Or we change the hammock. We put some new little frills and whistles on there, and you like it, or it's a new pattern of camo. All you have to do is buy the hammock. And this is something that I think nobody's picked up on really, and nobody's kind of talking about, but it's something that I'm real excited about, because that means I get to save guys money instead of them having to buy, the newest iPhone every year. Instead of getting caught in that kind of trap where, that's the newest thing, that's the most comfortable thing. Instead, we can offer a way to say, hey, we've got these new leg straps. They're 2-inch ones. If you're a SRT guy, or if you're a one stick guy, these are going to work better for you. And they're going to fully integrate just fine into the system we've got. Everything is removable and modular and moves around. So it's very customizable. And, a lot of guys are getting it. They're seeing it immediately. But, the general public is kind of hard to get to focus and see those points. But if that answers the question.
I think so. That was something I think, without climbing in it yet, it's hard to maybe, no, I think probably from what I've seen, rappelling down wouldn't be a problem, because you just stay in your hammock and you just lower yourself down, right?
Exactly.
Exactly,
right. Exactly.
Like why unhook it? You're in there. All you're doing is just
you just go down. Exactly.
You just go down.
Exactly.
The one sticking on the way up would be, it would probably, I don't know, watch some of the videos, and I've had some ideas on it. Once I get one, we'll have to play around with it. But it's good that the modularity of it, that you can to change pieces in and out. I think that's really smart. And I mean, especially, Mossy Oak and all them, they made a whole ton of money on selling new camo patterns to us every year. The deer don't care.
That's right.
But
They
oh,
don't
look
care.
at that. Oh man, look at that. I have to get, oh, look at that.
Right.
Oh no, they did that one. I need that one.
Yeah. They get you, man. They get you.
Oh, for sure.
Uh,
I think that's smart on your behalf too. The other question I had is people, myself and some of the guys I've been talking with, is what's it like to shoot your bow from it? Because I can see some pros, I can see some maybe potential cons. I'm not sure without actually doing it. But what's it like if sitting in there, if I'm all snuggled in my cocoon and all of a sudden that buck comes out, when I sit up, does it kind of fall away or does it stay tight to your body to dry out? What's it like shooting from?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. And I'm like I'm not doing a great job marketing here. I like guys are really asking for this stuff, and it's going to come out though. I mean, you're going to see guys on YouTube, some review guys that are going to be reviewing it real soon, and they'll have videos coming out. So they'll be able to show it and answer it a lot better. But I'll try to kind of hit the quick points of it. In my experience, in my opinion, I have never been able to shoot as well from a saddle as this one. And I'll go to your first point. Let me hit that first point so I don't forget. Because a lot of guys are asking about that, and that's their main like nitpick, besides potential noise from the product, is, oh, well, how do you get out of that thing with a deer that's closing in on you? And the response is that the idea of putting it completely over you and over your head so that you're laid back in it is more targeted towards the guys who are hardcore, who are going to jump in on a buck bed, on a point, on an off wind, that are going to get in there at 2:30 or 3 in the morning. You know what I mean? And they're waiting for that particular 15-minute moment of time. And what are they going to do? Are they just going to sit there, with it down on their back waiting? No, I mean, throw it up over your head, take a quick nap, put your phone on a vibrate alarm and wake up. Boom, there you are. Yeah. So the guys that are asking that and are concerned with that, I mean, basically the answer is just don't put it over your shoulders. The way that I run mine, and it's my favorite position in the hammock, is I'll pull it up and I only put one side of my shoulder. I'll put one shoulder inside of the hammock, if you can imagine that, and the other side is under my armpit. And what that does is it doesn't compress my shoulders together. It still gives me full back support and I can completely lean back into it, but it allows me to have one hand out, and that's my bow hand, and that's also my book hand, right? So I'm sitting there reading a book and I hear a twig pop and I turn my head and there's a deer, right? Okay, no big deal. I mean, set my book down, I reach out and grab my bow, I tuck this shoulder in, and that fabric is going to fall away very easily. And then immediately, if it's right below my armpits, right? It's right below where I need it. And in that configuration, this is where a lot of guys aren't seeing it either. And I tried to kind of hit it on the setup video that I did. But what you'll find when you shoot out of this thing is I'll grab my bow, right? And I'll have the fabric on my chest, on my ribs. And if I lean back into that fabric, I don't have to engage my core muscles, if that makes sense. Yep. I just lean into the fabric and I'm right there. And I can swing with my ring of steps. I'm a ring of steps guy, and I can twinkle toe around that tree and just swing completely around and just have full support. And I don't have to engage my core, which means more endurance on the shot, more stabilization, and just more shot opportunity. A big buck comes in, right? And he catches you with your pants down and you have to ease out of that thing. And then you put you get your bow up and you get ready. His head's behind a tree. You get drawn back and he sits there for 5 minutes. Yep. What are you doing? In a regular saddle, you are engaging your core to the fullest extent. Yep. In this, as long as you have it set properly, if you're leaned into it, there's no engaging your core. You're just sitting there holding and pushing into the fabric, and it's holding you up. As long as you hold your bow back, it's going to allow you a better shot opportunity. Also, the guys that run platforms, the guys that have been running platforms have given me feedback, and they're telling me that on offside shots, this thing is like no other. The reason for it is, if you're familiar with platforms, when you go offside shot, you have to take your tether and rest it kind of over your shoulder. You know what I mean?
Yep.
When you go into that offside, it kind of rests on your shoulder. Because you are limited by the material and the bridge length and how it's made. I mean, just the design of it. Yep. I don't think there's any other saddle on the market that's designed like this, where you have such a large amount of fabric coming up till you hit the bridge. So when you do go for that outside shot, there's so much material there. You just go under the bridge and you're completely free. You no longer have that tangle coming back over your shoulder hitting the tree. And I've had guys telling me that they're shooting recurves out of this thing, long 60-inch recurves, no problems with interactions with the fabric. No, there's just nothing there to get in your way. And it's hard to explain without sitting in this thing and actually shooting from it, how different it is and how much you can do with it. But it's definitely, in my opinion, all perks. I can't see much of a downside, but wait for the YouTube guys who are going to give you like a brutal, honest review, and they're going to tell you, exactly what you want to hear. And I think it's going to be the same thing. I think they're going to say, shot opportunities of this, there's no problems as far as restriction of mobility. There's actually more mobility, and you get extra stability on your chest, on your shot, on your torso. I mean, if you can imagine, say you had a deer just right up under you, and you wanted to get straight 90 degrees on this thing, you can lean into that fabric. I can lean into it and pivot my feet off of my ring of steps and just lean completely into it and go, just about, probably 45 degrees, if not a little more, depending on how far, your prusik or your ascender is out on your tether. And that, if you can get an image of what you're doing right there, that gives you an idea of how much, how much support you have on your chest that allows you to, get in that position. I mean, name another saddle that you can do that with. You can't. They're just not there.
Yeah, no, that's really intriguing. That's one of the things that I thought would be a definite bonus point to it, because that support there, it makes a difference when you're holding there. Because I know I've been there. I've been holding and holding and holding and holding and and even 30 seconds when it's a big buck out there, or anything, it's a doe, coyote, whatever,
right.
All of a sudden the adrenaline starts flowing. 30 seconds feels like an hour and a half,
That's right.
And especially when you're
any little, man, and any little advantage that you can tick up from that, which if you don't have to gauge your core, that means less oxygen usage by your body, which means you're not going to gas as fast as you are with a regular saddle, where you're having to engage that core in that position. And it maybe not in all positions with a traditional saddle. There's probably some positions where you're not, but the majority of them, I have to think that you're going to have to engage your core pretty hard. With this, definitely with like ring of step guys like me, I get with a traditional saddle. I mean, when you want to take a shot with those ring of steps, you're not standing up on anything. You're pivoting off the tree, so you're really engaging your core muscles with a ring of steps. And guys that don't like ring of steps might be pleasantly surprised and might go back to a ring of steps, because this system offers you the stability to take those shots without sacrificing, having to go to the gym and and get rid of your gut and engage those core muscles.
Yeah, it's very intriguing. People want more information and want to buy one of your saddles. Where should they go?
Yeah, so that's been like a pain point for us, because guys are like calling me and they're like, "Man, I can't find you on Google. You suck, man." And I'm like, "Yeah, I get it. I know. We came up with a clever name, and it's coming back to bite us in the butt, because if you search for Dryad Saddles, you're just gonna get mushrooms. I mean, that's where the name comes from. I'm a big outdoors guy, and I'm a mushroom hunter too. And whenever I think of saddles, the first thing I thought of was Dryad Saddles, because if you look into kind of the history of it, dries actually is a Greek word that means oak, and dryads are Greek mythology, and they are tree spirits that inhabit mostly oak trees. In the beginnings, it was mainly oak trees, just oak trees, and they would ride the Dryad saddle. And so I thought it was funny, like the whole thing where, we're deer hunters, we're targeting mass trees, oak trees specifically to hunt deer. And we are conservationists as well. We want to see these animals protected and, see our lands protected. And it kind of just fed into that, like the Dryad spirits are supposed to be protectors of the woods. And so kind of all that mixed together, and my love of mushrooms, my wife was like, "You just have to name it Dryad. I mean, you can't do it." Because I kept thinking, guys aren't gonna be able to find us. They're not gonna get it. And it is coming back to bite me in the butt. But the easiest way to find us, if you're not a type of guy that's going to type in a web address, is just put Dryad, Dryad Hammock. And I might actually just pivot this and call it Dryad Hammock if Google can't get this figured out for me, because we're having a tough time and we're having to run advertisements right now, and it's costing me money, so that guys can actually find me. Because I mean, you can't even get like 3 or 4 threads deep into Google and you still can't find me. You might find my video, but that doesn't get, you'll find my website address on there. But it's dryadsaddles.com is the site. And pretty soon it'll be probably Dryad Hammocks too, just because I've got to do something about that. But yeah, that's where you find it. And that's the story of the name.
No, that's good. Yeah, I understand. Sometimes, it just takes some time, and hopefully, as you sell more and more people become aware of it, some of that traffic will go. And Google is one of those things that once you get it, it runs. But if you're trying to paddle upstream, it just seems like it won't work. But once the stream starts flowing your way, it just all roads lead. So.
That's what I'm hoping for. I'm just hoping Google starts figuring it out. Like, all right, these guys are Dryad Saddles. They got the name. They're this is what everybody's looking for. They're a hunter. They're looking for Dryad Saddles. There's the site. So hopefully that gets fixed on Google side soon. But it's like a cog in a machine when you're dealing with those guys, man.
Oh yeah, no, for sure, absolutely. One more question I had before we let you go here is, obviously Canadian saddle hunter, being up here in Canada. Do you ship up here? And like, no, I'm assuming yes, but
yeah.
So, is there anything special that Canadians need to do in ordering, or just
no, man? I got actually. We went international like the first 3 days we went open. It's been like an overwhelming response from the Canadians, and you contacting me and just being like, "Hey, let's do a podcast." I'm like, "Man, Canada's on fire. These guys are bumped up." But yeah, I've got actually the first guy I contacted me was like, my address doesn't exist in your system. And I realized, I didn't have Canada as a ship zone in there. And so I had to go in there and flat rate it. And I think the last guy bought a hammock, and I think it was like 22 or 25 bucks a ship up there. The first guy was the whole system. And because it weighed a little more, I think it was a flat rate 55 from where I am up there. So I do ship up to you guys. And I'm willing to work with you if there's another way around it. Like I had a guy who had a FedEx line that I used. So, if anybody needs help, getting it up to you in a different fashion, I work with everybody, man. I love to see guys getting this thing and using it and talking to them. And it's been like the most fun rodeo so far, is just talking to people like you and, all these guys that are just stoked on it. Like there's actually a guy, name is Alex. I wish I had his Instagram. I'd give him a good hard shout out right now. He's a target archer. And he's involved with like the push, if you're familiar with those guys, the recurve guys. But he was one of my last Canadian orders, and he's just a general all around good dude. And I shipped one up to him for his bear hunt coming up soon. So hopefully we get some pictures from him.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That's good. Yeah, no, that's great. I know a number of guys have been chatting about it in the Canadian style hunting forum up here, and it's interesting. And yeah, well, thank you for your time, Dan. This is very helpful, informative, and hopefully everyone listening gets some get information and they know how to find your site now.
yeah, just go to dryadsaddles.com and if not, search for Dryad Hammock or Hunting Hammock. I think even pops it up. So that's really we've distinguished ourselves in the market enough. I think we could probably just call it Dryad Hammocks at this point, and guys would be like, we don't care. I mean, it's a hammock. It's not really a saddle. I mean, a lot of people on there on the Facebook forums are, that's what they're saying. They're like, this is not a saddle, this is a hammock. And it's like, yeah, you're right. It's definitely. So let me ask you, man, while I got you here, I don't know much about your channel. What's your history with bow hunting and stuff? And the last guy that I talked to, Alex, who I was just referring to, he said something like where he was at, it was like 0.02 deer per square mile or something that just blew my mind. It might have been 0.2 or something like that. But he was like, yeah, if you take a doe up here, it's a trophy. So I think he more hunted black bear up there. But where are you at and what's your experience?
So for me, I'm in South Western Ontario. So if you were to draw a line between Buffalo and I guess Buffalo and Detroit, we'd be right smack in the middle. I'm on this north of Lake Erie. We're in a good spot here. Lots of agriculture, lots of deer here.
Okay, good.
Some decent ones, not like the Midwest or something like that. Obviously,
you're on that kind of like tail end of that bell curve right there, aren't you?
Yeah, kind of in the middle. I mean, Michigan's obviously beside us, New York, so we have some good sized deer, but not like out in Saskatchewan where they just have some huge monsters. Um,
Right,
but it's
right.
just great to be outdoors. Yeah, we just started this year as well. So hunting Canada with COVID is obviously changed a whole lot of things, and
Hmm.
so in some extra time that I had, and just wanted to just explore the passion more. And in Canada here, we're pretty much 2 years behind you guys in the States on a lot of trends and stuff. And
Hmm.
so just saddle hunting,
Hmm.
I think for 3 or 4 years now, I don't know, it kind of blends together. Um, but
Yeah,
just
yeah.
seeing the interest, and a lot of people haven't been able to get products here at sometimes, or else this duty especially has been crazy expensive. And so people wanting to try
Oh
something out,
yeah, yeah.
it's like, oh man, I don't want to spend 600, $700 on a system, without even knowing if I like
Totally.
it, and or actually, do I want this one or do I want this one?
Right.
So what we have done
Right. Yeah.
is we started this channel here, started the podcast, and we're going to be doing live training events, giving people the opportunity to try out some different saddles, sit in different things, try a ring of steps, try a platform. This is what a Shikar stick is like. This is like, your Hawk Helium. This is,
Hmm.
a Predator
Yeah.
platform, and
Yeah.
Richard, whatever, all this stuff. They give people a chance to sit in things, a Dryad saddle. Um, and
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I'd love to
um,
be part of that.
Sure. And then, because once you actually are in it, then you can say, oh, you know what? I really like the Dryad. It really suits me well. Or, you know
Right.
what? That
Right.
the Eberhard ESS, that the seatbelt straps. That's the way I want to go. And it's like, all right, dude. Like,
Hmm.
whatever
Hmm.
works for you. Um,
That's right, man. That's
some
right.
guys want the 6-pound mission platform that is like half a tree stand. Um,
Yeah. I might as well bring a tree stand. I
yeah,
don't understand it, but more power to you.
yeah. I have one of those. I mean, I've hunted off a scout on a stick. That's what I've done most of that's been my
Hmm.
biggest platform, um, usually, and the Predator as well. But so just giving people the opportunity to experience some of those things, working with some different companies, like Trophy Line, Out on a Limb, and Tethered, XOP, different things like that, to bring some products up here at a better price. I know guys have bought something for like $100 and paid $80 duty and shipping.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's like
Yeah.
it doubles the cost. So being able to work with people to bring the cost down, get stuff freighted in rather than shipped. So if I buy
Right.
a whole bunch, then we can just do things at a better cost up here. And then again, let people try out the stuff, teach safety on how to do things, and how to make sure like you're connected to the tree at all times, and get over
Hmm.
some of the
Hmm.
apprehension. I think a lot of things, if people are nervous and apprehensive, that's when more mistakes happen, and that's when more accidents happen. If you're relaxed and
100%.
comfortable, then you're confident and you're coherent.
That's
I
right.
liken it to guns, for instance. If someone's afraid of a gun, then they're not safe with a gun because they're afraid of it, and they're just not not thinking. They're just
That's
crazy.
right.
Whereas
That's right.
if they learn how to properly handle a firearm and keep it pointed in a safe direction, understand this is how you make it go bang, this is how you load it, this is how you clean it, and they become comfortable, then they become, a safe operator of a firearm because they're relaxed and coherent. Same with saddle hunting. If
That's right.
you
That's
become
right.
comfortable in it and understand this is how I do it, this is how I sit, this is how I lean back and it holds me, or this is what happens if I slip, this is what it feels like. This is how, what do you do when you kick your ring of steps or platform out? Oh, knocked knocked my
Yeah,
headphones
you're
off
getting
there.
excited, Steve. You're getting
Exactly.
excited.
Um, Knock your ring of steps or platform off the tree, and you're there. How do you get down? Do you have the stuff in your pack to help you get down safely and stuff like that? Just
Right.
teach
Yeah. Yeah,
teach
that's
those.
good. That's great stuff, man. That's great stuff. I always tell people, like, and I'll reiterate to your audiences, is if you aren't comfortable in your setup, do not continue to use that setup. You have to be, like you're saying, fully confident in it and smooth in your actions, and understand where you're clipping in, where you're clipping out of, where your load is, where your lifelines are, where your supports are, where your escape routes are, how you're going to get down from the tree if something bad did happen.
Yeah.
People have told me that they don't have faith in my system, and I say, if you don't have faith in my system, please do not buy my product. And I mean that 100%,
Yeah.
because I don't want you to hurt yourself. And if you are scared in the least bit that my product is not safe, I don't want you in it, because a scared individual, a panicked individual who does not think clearly and is not trusting their equipment is going to make a mistake, and it's going to end up getting them hurt. So I fully am on board with what you're doing. I mean, guys need to be trained in this stuff, because if you don't come from a background of knots and climbing and these, belay systems, and it's all getting kind of crazy now. I mean, it's going rock climbing, one stick and SRT, DRT. I mean, it's all getting pretty wild out there. And if that stuff gets more and more mainstream, you're gonna there's a lot to that stuff, and there's a lot of experience and training that needs to be involved when you try to attempt these types of things. And you need to have those proper safety procedures in place to make sure that you are safe, that you're backed up, and that you're well aware. So putting on things like that you're doing, Steve, and training those people is super crucial. And it's awesome that you're doing that, man. I mean, I wish I had that when I first got into saddle hunting. I mean, the products didn't exist back then, of course, but I mean, if they did, and there was guys just, that had an array of 7 of these things and was like, here, sit in each one of these. I mean, that's a fantastic way for you to just, pick what you want, pick what fits you, because like you said, everybody's different. And everybody's going to have a different hunting style, and not everything is for everyone. You can't make a product that's going to be for everyone, no matter what the marketing says, no matter what I say. There's going to be guys that don't like my system. That bottom line. There's no two ways around it. But we do think that we came out with something that is completely different, and it's something that I think a lot of guys are really going to like, and it allows us to play. I think it allows us to play more now than we have been able to with this horse that everybody's been beating over here on the traditional saddle design. I mean, there's only so much you can do now with the traditional saddle, and guys have been saying that for the past 2 years. Tether did it, Arrow Hunter did it. It's been done. There's not much really else to do here. And we saw this model and we went, there's all this room to play. I don't know if you see it, but from the leg straps to the pouches to the different types of hammock material to all this stuff. I mean, there's the underquilts. I don't know if we talked about those, but the underquilts are something I'm super stoked on. Especially for you Canada guys where it gets cold up there. Yep. We got little buckles that we're going to start production soon on some camo fleece. We have orange ones up on our site. It's not for sale right now. They're coming soon. We were going to do orange, and then everybody was like, no, do camo, please. So we're pretty much forced by market to say, okay, first run's going to be camo. But just the ability to put those in there, and then also the ability to clip into those little clips and have accessories and all types of stuff that's right up near you. I mean, the playground, I think, is open, and I think a lot of guys are going to enjoy that. The innovation and the possibilities, I think, that exist on this little frontier. And the Facebook group that's going on right now on the Saddle Hunter forum on Facebook, the group, there's a lot of guys that are kind of naysaying. And, it's okay. It's something different. And, a lot of people are going to be kind of scared by new things. And that's totally okay. Like we're talking about, if you're not confident in it and you're not 100% on board with it, then don't try it. It's okay. Wait till maybe someone's got one near you, and then get in it, try it out, and see if it's for you. And if it's something that you feel safe with. But I'm super excited for the future of this thing. I mean, we've had such a solid response from people, and it's been mostly like 98% positive, with guys that are just like, mind blown, like, love this thing. It's a great idea. It's great innovation. The first wave of orders that came in was just guys going, thank you for doing something different, and it was really a breath of fresh air for me too, because that was something that I wanted to bring to the market, was something that was completely different, because it just gets tiresome when you're dealing with the same old thing, and everybody's beating the same dead horse, and we're really happy that guys see it and respond in kind. So awesome that you're doing that, man. So what's up with your season right now? Have you been out scouting or anything like that? Have you got any spots planned, or how's your season coming along?
Yeah, no, a number of things. Have some new property. Going to be hunting this year, so that's exciting. My son is getting older, and so he's able to join me now. So that's
awesome.
That's
how old
fun.
Is he?
He's 11. He turns 12 this year. So here in Ontario.
That's exciting, man.
Yeah. So he has he passed the hunting education course, and so he can get his license when he turns 12. So he's been with me, sometimes hunting like with me, but now this year he'll actually be able to hunt himself. And so that's exciting to be able to do this. And actually, one of the things I was thinking along this here the other day actually was with the Dryad is for kids, it's very adjustable. So like for someone who's smaller, it would still you'd be able to adjust things, and it could be potentially a really good thing for kids to help them feel secure. And if it's a long sit, to pull up over their head and for them to have a nap up there in a tree.
And they can fidget all they want. They can be inside of that thing. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Yeah.
You know, if you just have it over your shoulders, you're playing with your food, you're eating a snack. I mean, you can move all you want inside of there, and nothing's going to see you. And you're right. I mean, with the kids, it's especially handy. I will say, I have to preface this with the kids that, always adult supervision. Make sure you are keeping eyes on those things. If they're overhead high, you cannot trust those guys with carabiners and loops and stuff like that. So, train them hard. And I can't recommend as a manufacturer to do that with kids, but get them in the great outdoors, man. I mean, it's nothing like I took my son turkey hunting this season, and he was so amped up with it, man. And he was, I'm a type of guy. We got hills and hollers here in Tennessee, and I will just run them as hard as I can, and it's straight up and it's straight down, and I will chase a gobbler. If he's going, I'm coming. And my son actually, for the first time, I told him, "All right, son, we're gonna go hunting." He was like, "All right, let's go." And he got his little backpack on, and he's got his little hunting pants on, and it was just the most cute thing. And he actually scaled a mountain with me. I mean, a Tennessee mountain with me, and it was so exciting, man. So I'm in the same stage with him. I can't wait to get him in the woods deer hunting. It's going to be such a blast. I enjoy it with the kids, man. It's so fun.
Yeah, no, it is. It's such an incredible experience. There's nothing quite like it. There's, being out there, being part of nature, and being with your family and loved ones. It's just awesome.
Yeah, it really is, man. There really is nothing like it. That's what it's meant for, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Well, again, Dane, thank you for your time. I appreciate it, and I look forward to the chats in the future as well.
Yeah, you too, Steve. Thanks for having me on, man. I think this is my first podcast, so you popped the cherry, so to speak. So congratulations to us both.
Exactly. Thanks, Dane.
All right.